Now, in Lesson 2, what we're going to do is we're going to start learning more about financial periods. We're going to be building reports, time-based reports. So in the first day, remember, we learned how to copy and paste, and we learned how to set up different areas and bring in budgets and do comparisons to budgets. We also got a good idea of how all the different fields in the row sets, column sets, and unit sets worked. Here we're going to start taking a look at the financial periods. So I'm going to move this out of the way and log into my system where I left off from yesterday. Now, one of the important things to point out is each period could be different. So if we go in here, you can see here's all the different financial periods that we have. And in some cases, you may have an adjustment period. In this case, we don't. So you'll have to keep that in mind. Reports get a little trickier if you have an adjustment period in mind. So in the sales demonstration data that comes with the system, a lot of my time-based reports, I need to do a little bit of finagling to get the formulas to work out because it's got a 13th period that allows you to make adjustments before you close your calendar year. In this case, it's going to be relatively easy because we only have these 12 financial periods. And as you can see, the periods are aligned with the calendar months, so we won't have to worry too much about that. Now, the main tool that we'll be using for these periods was that offset that we briefly touched on yesterday. So to get started, I'm going to go in and you can follow along with me at this point. Is that we're going to go in and do the lesson on reports and build one that spans some different financial periods. So if you recall from yesterday, we started setting up, we did a final copy at the end of the day to create this thing called My PL2, which is a quarterly P&L. If we hit preview on that, I think you're going to find that, let's do software 122013, run report. You're going to find that the report's great, except it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's just simply a copy of the existing P&L report. So the next plan is to start adding the different columns to this so we can get that moving. All right, so let's start off. We're going to do the column set is where most of that types of activity comes in. Once again, you can do it by pressing this, or I'm going to go actually open it up in a new window. And mine was called My PL2. So there's our column set that's driving all the data now. Now, one of the areas we learned about was these headers. So the first thing we're going to do is change this header. And we're going to make it very specific to talk about different things that we need to modify here. So before it was year to date. Now we're going to do a fiscal year that starts with some text. So I'm going to do a quick copy paste, and then I'll come back and explain it to you. So here's what I got from my guide on page 36. And we're going to see, now that I've changed that, let's go back and show what the result of that is. Actually, let me do something here real quickly. I'm going to pick a default ledger so I don't have to keep going over this. And I am going to also do a default start period. Okay. So now you'll see it says fiscal year 2012 is the basis for what that was. So let's go in, and I'm going to open up using this magnifier glass and talk through that formula with you. So the first part's pretty simple. It's just a very simple text area, fiscal year. And then I have this thing called format year. Now, you might be asking yourself, how did that come about? Remember yesterday we went over all these different functions. So in the application area, we have this thing called a format year. Now you have two different ways we can call this format year. We can call it with one parameter, as you see here, and then we can go in and call it with two parameters. The second parameter includes a financial period shift. So if we go ahead and call it with this second one, you'll see it brings in pretty much everything I have here. And then the period that we wanted to reference here simply comes from my parameters, and I'm going to use my start period. And the shift, we're going to move it back one financial period. So that's so now what that's going to do is it's going to return the financial year called this. It's going to take the financial years of this. It's not going to return any months or anything, just the year, and it's going to subtract one and print it out. So why do we get I'm sorry, it was a year. It subtracted a year, not a period. So that's why we got 2012 there, because that was the way that was set up. All right, now the other thing we're going to have to do is we modified our heading, so let's go modify everything else down here to do it. And we're basically looking to set up what it looks like last year. So the first quarter of our report, or the first column of our report, is going to show where the status of things was in the previous year. So we go in and we set the start period to the 12th. We want to lock in on December because we want the ending balance as of last year. And remember, just like we subtracted 1 year, we're going to subtract a year here, and I'm going to do the same in that column as well. And the ending balance we can keep just as is and hit save. So just like that, we've added a new column that manages everything, and it's now going to print out the totals from last year. Now in the next column, now we want to start adding our quarterly totals. So now we start spanning the different time zones, and we're going to do January through March, April, May, and June, July, August, September, and so on and so forth. So we're going to obviously have to add some new columns, but before we do that, let's set up our next column, which is going to be the first quarter. So for the first quarter, I'm going to go try and do this. We'll just try and type it in as we would expect it to be. So we're going to say it equals Q1 of, and I'll close that and add a plus sign. And now, if you recall, we're going to have to go into our application area, find our format year. Where are we here? Format year, where are you? There we are. And I'm just going to insert the start period into this. So let's go back to my parameters, find start period, always hit validate and hit OK, hit save. So the other way you could have simply done that, go to your course syllabus, page 36, and copy and paste what you have right there. I figured I'd just show you how you do it in the real world. Okay, so now the next thing, let's go align our area down here to be consistent with what we need to do. So turnover is going to be correct because we're going to add up. We need to add up 3 months of data in this case, or 3 financial periods, I should say, of data, which happens to correspond to months. So in this case, we're going to enter our start period is 01, and our end period is 03. Now, we don't need to do any offsetting here because everything's going to be automatically taken from that start period and end period. And the year, we don't need to change at all because we're going to enter the year. So let's go ahead and hit OK, hit save, and we should be able to go in and let's take a quick look and see how we're doing. So I'm going to go run a preview of this report, and I'm going to run it. So you have 2012. Oh, I don't have any data there. So actually, you know what I might do? Something tells me that we're supposed to be doing this. 012014. We're going to run that for next year, see if I can pull up some data for, I don't know where all the data sets live in this area. There we go. All right, so now we've got a full fiscal year, and we've got our first quarter of the 2014. All right, so now let's go through the process of grinding it out, and basically we're going to go add a bunch of new rows to this. So we're going to add a row for each quarter. You go down, remember, add it down here. This is going to go in, and it's going to go 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So those are our different rows. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to do a copy, paste, paste, and another paste. And I'm going to go manually modify my quarter numbers because these are just labels. 3 and 4. The other thing we might consider doing now we have all these guys down here. I'm going to want to keep the format of these numbers consistent, so I'm just going to copy this and paste, paste, paste. And 140 will, let me see what they tell. Oh, it tells me to do something different. It tells me to do 350, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. Okay, make a little more room on the report. Now for the style, I'm going to simply do a copy and paste, paste, paste. So I've got the same style. And now the part is the actual learning part. So now we've got to do we've got to manage these into different quarters. So it's going to be a fairly simple exercise. We're going to do 04 through 07. That's going to be April, May, 06, April, May, June. And once again, we're going to want the turnover associated with that. Hit OK. Next, 07, 09, turnover. Okay, and the last one, 10, 11, and 12, turnover. Okay, save. Now the other thing I forgot to do, so if I actually run the report right now, the formatting up in the top is going to be a little off. So before I forget, let me just do another copy style. Move over one, paste it, paste it, paste it. Also, I want to make sure I carry my bottom, this line, so I'll copy, paste, 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 paste. Okay, save what we have, come back to here, preview our report, and see how we're doing. All right, so things are starting to look pretty good. We've got everything lined up in terms of our quarters. Now, the other thing that might be nice is to add a fiscal year 2014 at the end of this. That's going to be a summary of quarters 1 through 4. There's different ways of doing that. We could simply do a simple row like we've been doing and put 01 and 12 on a turnover, and it's going to add all that up. The other way that you could do it is you could use the ending balance like we did in the first column to do that. So I think they have me doing the ending balance method, yes. So we'll go in and add another column that's going to take care of that ending balance. So once again, back to our column set, add a new one, copy some of the, I'm going to do a little copy and paste here, paste, copy style, paste style. And here's where we need, so remember I said we could do turnover from 1 to 12, but instead we're going to do ending balance, and we're going to do that for the current year. Now, the way we got the previous year, remember, is we subtracted a year over here in the offset, and since we're going to take whatever we feed into it, which is in this case 2014, we don't need to make any offsets there. The last thing we would need is a title for the report. Actually, I'm going to change a title for my column header, I mean. And let's take, I'm going to steal this first guy, paste him in, and, well, I can just do 0. I think that'll do all right. I should use the other, function. Where it doesn't, I think I can use it without passing a parameter. I'll try it real quick. I think it's the same function. So let's see how we did with that. Did fine, minus I forgot to copy my formatting over. So let me go finish that up, and then we'll be just about done with this. So let's go take our format from this column, copy and paste, and we'll do another copy and a paste there. So at this point, we basically have the whole report gathered up. We've created a quarterly report that will list out all of where our balances are on a quarterly basis. Do the final verification here just to make sure. And let me compare this. I think there's a picture of what I'm supposed to end up with in the syllabus. Wow, let me get my eyes checked. Well, I got some different numbers. It looks like I'm using a different, oh, they're using actual soft. Oh, really? Did I just close that file I needed? 1 second, let me go retrieve that. So they're using, that was actual. So, I don't know. We got different numbers. I'm not going to worry about it for now. I think it's okay. Let me open up this guy again. Lesson 3, back 1, big. I want to make sure I'm not throwing somebody for a loop here. It could just be that the demonstration data has changed, but let me go double check that. Preview. And that looks right. Run. Basically, my totals are higher in my annual, so maybe they adjusted. I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that we've adjusted the demonstration data since the snapshot or something was taken, because I'm pretty sure everything's right there. All right, I got a couple of quick questions on that one. People are having trouble viewing the formulas, so I can expand these, but to get the whole formula is going to be kind of tough. I can expand this for a bit. The best way to get these formulas, unfortunately, because it's going to disappear from the screen anyway when I move out, is to go to the course guide, and I think all of those formulas are located here on page 37 of the course guide. So you can see that. All right. So let's go back to, I think that's going to cover it for basically section or lesson 2. I did get one comment that says they're showing the detail workbook. So instead of showing, I'm showing more of a summarized revenue in my thing. So that's probably what the difference in the numbers was. Thank you, Jim, for pointing that out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead at this point. We're going to move on to lesson 4, using overlapping data sources. Sorry, lesson 3, filtering by unit. That's 4 and 5 are for tomorrow. Lesson 3, filtering data and reports by using unit sets. So now we're going to talk a little bit about unit sets. Unit sets, we briefly described yesterday as an interesting way where you can aggregate things down different ways. Most commonly, it's based on using subaccounts to drive that, or you can also use branches and come up with a branch structure. In this example, I believe we're going to go ahead and use the branches structure to do that. So we'll be able to learn how to use branches. It's also, as I said, very popular to use subaccounts to break out different financial statements automatically using that. So let's go back to our unit set. Let's go back, and I think we're going to, the idea is we're going to go, if you remember the company structure from last time, let me see if I can get this screen back in the syllabus. It was towards the beginning. Yeah, page 21. So we're gonna try and basically recreate this page structure right here, where we're gonna go have software, Eastern, Western, and Computers, Inc. We're gonna try and recreate a report that's gonna show the contribution from Eastern and Western to Computers, Inc. So let's shuttle that back over here and go back. Now the report that we're going to be working with, so I'm going to close down my column set here, and I'm going to open up down here. You can see the unit set that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to open up my unit set in a new tab. We're going to be creating a brand new unit set from scratch. So the unit set, we're going to simply call my P&L. And we're going to break out all those companies. So we'll give it a title called companies. So that's the simplest way to create a unit set. Now, when you create a unit set, what happens is that it's automatically going to display, when you run the report, this root. And the root doesn't have anything underneath of it. It doesn't have any data source. So it's just going to display everything as if nothing ever happened. Now so to add, we're going to go U1, and we're going to have computers and software consolidated. So this is, consolidated. And now, following the instructions on page 40, we're going to do something magical because this doesn't exist yet. So we're going to we're going to add up unit set 2, and we're going to add that to unit set 3. Now, it's a little strange because unit set 2 and unit set 3 do not exist yet, but it's going to let me enter that. The other frequent way of doing this is you could have used a data source. If you have your branches all set up, you could have just selected specific branches. The benefit of adding up these unit sets is that then your totals are guaranteed to match. Whereas if you go into the data source, you have to be careful that you don't exclude anything underneath of it. We're going to go ahead and hit save. Now once I save it, notice now we have an actual report. So we can actually, at this point, we would be able to go in, add this unit set to a report, and we would see a result. The result would be 0 because we haven't defined unit sets 2 and 3 yet, but that would be the result that you would get. Now the next step that we need to do is we need to go in and define unit set 2 and unit set 3, which are going to be our East and West companies that we're going to try and roll up into this main company. So the way to do that is we had previously clicked on root, and that's going to show a list of different things we could put underneath here. So if I wanted to add another one, I could just add something like that, and now you see I've got a different guy. But what we wanted to actually do as part of the lesson is we want to add something under unit set 1. So in that case, we click U1, and now we repeat the process. So we're going to add U2, which is Computers, Inc. And we will also, actually we're just going to use the ledgers to drive this one. Printing group, I'm going to mention in a second. I'm going to set that to 2, but the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we pick the ledger that's going to drive this. So Computers, Inc. is this guy right here, the posting ledger. So we're going to use that and hit OK. And then U3 is Software, Inc. Also, and we're going to find, once again, using a ledger. Now there's multiple ways of setting this up. So we're going to roll these two guys basically up into that one company. So let me go save, and you'll see those two appear under here. Let me go back and just show you what we were trying to accomplish there. So we're actually, I pointed it out incorrectly before. We're actually rolling up Software, Inc. and Computers, Inc. into the parent company. So the parent company doesn't exist as a branch right now. That's why it's going to be a reporting entity. It doesn't even exist as a branch. If we had chosen, you can do these things in different ways when you set up your company. But when you go in and set up your company, if you had created a different branch, sorry, I moved it out of the way too soon. If you set up a branch for the parent company and for computers and software, then you could go ahead and use the data source methodology I referred to before which was instead of selecting ledgers, you could have actually selected branches. So you can see that we could actually add up Western, and there's other ways of doing it as well. In this case, you'll notice that we have different, let me open up ledgers for just a second to show you. So we have all these different ledgers. We have 3 different actual ledgers that are associated with Computers Inc., Software Inc., and then, well, we don't have a parent company one, but that's where that all gets set up. All right, so now we've gone ahead and we've defined our company structure as Computers Inc., Software Inc., and it rolls up into a reporting entity called Computers and Software Consolidated. The way we set and now the last thing that we did that I skipped over real quickly was we entered this thing called a printing group. The printing group's going to be defined to help print out specific columns. It can be row sets or column sets, but it's going to allow us in this case to print out certain columns when we have if we want certain unit sets to show up in different columns. It's tough to describe. It's easy to see once we get it set up. But basically what it means is that if we specify printing group 1 on a column set, then when we run that report, U1, anything part of this consolidated area, is going to show up. If we specify printing group 2 on a column set, then these more detailed companies are going to show up with it. So it'll be able to go ahead and accomplish that. All right, so let's go ahead and do, let's see, we got to go add our unit set basically now to a report. So we've created our unit set, and I believe we're working with our quarterly report. Let me go double check that. Yes, we are. So we're going to work with the same report that I already had open, my P&L 2, except we're going to go in and we're going to basically add a unit set to that. So to do that is very easy. We just go in and simply select our unit set and hit save. So it's really easy once you've got all your unit sets up, set up to go create new reports and manage those and organize them that way. Now, the other thing, we don't necessarily want to request ledgers anymore because with the unit set selected, we're actually specifying ledgers. So we're going to uncheck that, delete that if I want. It's not required. And we'll save that. So I got rid of the ledger selection just to go ahead and do that. Now, the other part that we're going to want to do at some point is we're going to want to modify our report, their column set, to print out the proper rows. And we're going to also want to add some more information about what the unit set is into the header of the report. Before I do that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and plow through a quick run of it to see what we've got going on right now. So you'll see here's our report that we have. Now, the thing that's changed a little bit is we have this area called groups up here. If I hit the groups, you'll be able to see that here's my consolidated report, here's computers, and here's Software Inc. underneath of it. So you have these two guys, and then they roll up into this overall report. Remember, like I said yesterday, these consolidated ones, this is an addition. So remember, I did it by adding U2 and U3. Because I did it using an addition, I don't have any hyperlinks here. If I had done it by setting up a branch and doing it that way, you would have been able to get hyperlinks in here. But the way that we specify it by doing the additions means that we don't have any drill down into this. All right, so everything's looking pretty good, but now we're going to start putting some of the nicer features on this. We're going to start adjusting some of these titles, and then we're going to make the unit sets print out along with the column sets. We're going to kind of merge those two together. So let's start with, let's actually start with going into our column set. I'm going to open up our column set that we have here, my PL2, in a new tab here. Type my PL2, and here's our column set that's driving most of what's in there. Now the first thing that's I forgot to change this as part of the last exercise, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. We're going to add a more appropriate title. We're calling this one my P&L, and oops, again, P&L space plus, and then we're going to show you one more parameter that you can grab called unit set. Actually, I don't want to grab unit set. I think I want to grab unit text. There's the unit code. So this would print U2 and U3 and U1 out. The text will actually print the part from the description, which is what we want in this case. So I'll validate and hit OK, hit save. So once again, if I print the text, that's going to grab this description piece. If you print the set, it's going to grab this. I'm going to do one quick aside here. Just remember, if you're confused about something like that, here we go. This is how I refer to it. I'd go help, and we want to go into finance. We're going to help, user guide, general ledger, analytical reports, formulas, parameters in new tab. And this is where you would learn all these different things that I've been stumbling on and doing because they're in the course guide. All right. So back to our column set. Actually, they're actually adding another column in here as well. So we want to do year-over-year performance is another column that we're going to add. So just to reinforce some of our calculations and learnings, we want to figure out, basically, we want to take column, we don't want these are all our quarterlies, C, D, E, and F. But if we want to compare apples to apples, we can take the year expressed in B and the year expressed in G and come up with a percentage. So to start that process, I'm going to go add a new column. Remember, we had the GL columns, which are calculations and descriptions. I'm going to actually use the calculation here. And we're going to do equals G divided by B. I think, yes, that's it. We're going to want to express this as a percentage. So I'm going to take that and tack on a % sign to the end. Change my width to 100. And that would basically be the calculation. So let's go back. I'll do one. Oh, I need a title. What did they use for a title there? Oh, it's all right. Year-over-year annual performance. We'll just call it something. Equals % year-over-year. And then I always forget to do this. Copy style, paste style, copy style, paste style, copy style, paste style. Oh, I did it in the wrong spot. Copy down low and paste down low. There we go. Okay, so now we've basically added that column where we've got our % year-over-year calculation. And it's taking column B, oops, can't highlight B, but anyway, it's taking this and column G and comparing them, and it looks to be accurate, just at a brief glance. Okay, so now, now part of the exercise is to understand how these print groups work. So far we've set up all of our report. But we haven't done anything very interesting with setting up our printing groups so that we can show how certain columns will only print when you run the report. So right now, let me pull up my existing report one more time, and you'll see that if I go into my unit set, all the columns appear for everything. And you'll also notice we do have our unit set showing up there as well. Okay, so now let's go in, and on our consolidated report, we're not interested. I think the way they're setting up this exercise is they're not interested in the quarterly total. So we want to drop these 4 columns out of my consolidated report, and then we're going to keep them in. I can't remember the exact scenario because it's more of an exercise, but we're going to go ahead and set that up based on the column set. So remember, we already set up the printing groups on our unit sets. We set up U1. We set up U1 as printing group 1, and the other 2 as printing group 2. So if we go over here to our column set, we'll be able to do unit group, and wherever we put a 1, that'll limit that year-over-year comparison to the first guy. And then for the quarters, we'll do 2, 2, 2, and 2. So in our quarterly columns, we're putting 2. So you're not going to see the quarterly detail unless you drill into, unless you go down into more detail into the detailed entities. Now the other 2 columns that we have not specified any unit group as part of, they should display all the time. So let's go ahead and see if we made that change appropriately. We'll once again hit a preview, run the report. And now you're going to see we're going to immediately see differences. So if we open up our groups, we're starting with this computers and software consolidated, and it's not showing our quarterly totals. If we go into Computers Inc., we show all the quarterly totals, but we do not show the year-over-year comparison at the end. And similarly to Software Inc. Appears that way as well. So those are so that's the brief lesson on the unit sets and how they are set up. Here's the expected results. Let me drill into them real quickly. It looks like we're, just from an overall layout perspective, I'm not going to compare numbers, but from an overall layout perspective, everything looks pretty good. So I think we're all set there. So that takes us through lessons 2 and 3.